Hello, Flexi folks. Today we are going to talk about oversplits. Chiefly, who should start working on oversplits, how to go about adding these into your routine, and how to make sure we are protecting our knees while we're adding elevation to the front or back or both legs. So who are oversplits good for? Oversplits are not just for folks who have a comfortable flat split on the floor and want to go a little bit deeper. If you are working on getting your flat splits, if you feel like you've kind of plateaued and your crotch is like an inch or two away from the floor, that is a great time to start adding oversplits into your training. So, good rule of thumb, if you can do a split sitting on one yoga block on the low height, now's about the time to start adding oversplits into your training. When we work on oversplits, we can have the block under the back leg, under the front leg, or under both. They have different goals. So let's talk about all of them. Personally, I like to do a little bit of everything. So starting with block under the back leg. So if we're putting a block under our back leg, we're going to have it under the top of our back foot while our right foot is forwards in our split. So this is going to make it more intense on the hip flexors, the front of that back leg. Because our hip flexors are generally the muscles that like to cheat our splits, let our hips open up out to the sides, it is extra important that we are keeping our hips square, pointing forwards when we start working on oversplits and not letting them splay out to the sides. So this might mean using blocks under your hands to keep our chest nice and lifted, both hip bones pointing forwards like headlights. So either hands are on blocks or they're on the floor. And you'll notice my knee hyperextends a little bit in this front leg. You can see that my thigh goes down and then my shin comes up at a little bit of an angle. Because my hips are lifted, my knee isn't super supported, I'm going to take a slight bend in that knee. Squeeze those quads to engage my quads. That way, I'm not letting my knee totally collapse. I'm keeping a nice straight line, keeping that knee happy. If you need to, you can also throw a block under that knee or that thigh for support if that quad engagement is feeling difficult. But from here, we're going to start with some knee straightens with this back leg. So I'm going to push the top of my back foot into the block, squeeze my quad, straighten that leg, then bend that knee down to the ground. Again, straightening and bending. Straightening and bending. Do this about 5 to 10 times, getting used to that quad engagement. And then after your last one, we're going to keep that knee lifted, keep that engagement, hold for 15 to 30 seconds. This is a very active split. Our quads are engaged in both of our legs if you're trying to protect that front knee too. Holding for 15 to 30. Go ahead, come on down whenever you're ready. Shake it out. Block under the front leg is going to give us a little bit more of a hamstring stretch. Because having that block under our front leg can put more pressure on our knee, I like starting people with the block under the calf as opposed to all the way to the foot. If you're used to working on oversplits, you're welcome to put it under your foot. But if it's your first time working on them, go ahead, keep it a little closer to your knee. So with our front leg forwards, back leg back, both hips are square pointing to the front, not out to the side. So if you're doing your finger guns, we're pointing our finger guns straight towards the front of our mat. And we're going to start with a little quad engagement for this front leg. Start working on some of those muscles that are going to protect our knee. From here, torso is nice and lifted, hip square. I'm going to engage my quad, try to lift that foot off the floor. It's going to feel like a squeeze, and then relax. Lifting, and then relaxing. If you're trying this and you're like, Danny, there's no way in hell my foot's going to lift, you can make it a little easier. Taking that block on the medium height. You can technically take it on the highest height. It's just a little bit harder to balance. So hold on to the block if you need to. Medium height is usually a good option. So we're engaging that quad, lifting our leg, and relaxing. We're going to do this 5-ish to 10 times. And once we've got our quads firing, we're going to take that block, move it a little bit farther forwards under our calf. Keep that gentle quad squeeze. So you don't have to squeeze it like your life depends on it. Maybe about 50% of what you were just doing as we're starting to relax our hips down to the floor. Now we're going to hold our oversplit for 15 to 30 seconds. And whenever you're ready, you can come on out. As you get more flexible, You can work that block out farther away under your front foot, eventually working towards going underneath your heel. But the closer we get towards our foot, the more important it is to keep that little bit of quad engagement through that front leg so we don't let our knee collapse to the ground in that hyperextension. So try to keep that little bit of engagement, slight lift through that knee. And once you can get your hips comfortably on the ground, then it's time to add another block. So if your oversplit training is going well and you can get your hips flat on the ground, either with that block under the front foot or the back foot, then it is time that you can start working on your double oversplit, blocks under both feet. For this one, we'll have block under that back foot like normal, under our front. Gap like normal. Starting with that front knee bent, back knee bent. Go ahead, find some of that quad engagement first so we can lift and bend that back knee a couple times, just like we do with the single block. Same thing with that front leg. Straighten and bend that front knee a couple times. Then when you're ready, we're going to straighten the back leg and the front leg. Torso stays lifted, avoid leaning forward. That's going to be the cheat for the hip flexors. And then from here, trying to relax our hips towards the floor. If you can get your butt down, then you are welcome to add more blocks. So that's really oversplits in a nutshell. Basically, if you're getting pretty close to flat splits, it's plenty good time to start adding them to your routine. Or if you already have flat splits, by all means, start adding your oversplits into your training. I really like putting them in instead of my static split holds. So after my 10 to 15 minutes of warm-up plus 10 to 15 minutes of split prep where I'm doing conditioning and all of my active flexibility work, when I'm getting to those times that I'm doing my passive stretches for my split holds, I really like doing block under the back foot, starting with those straight ins and then doing a hold anywhere for 30 to 60 seconds total. Block under the front foot, starting with some of those knee straightens, then doing 30 to 60 seconds work of the hold. And then either block under both legs if I'm working on both legs, or if you're working towards that flat split, take the blocks away, see how your split feels without those blocks, and you might be pleasantly surprised how much closer to the ground you're able to get. If you got any questions, let me know in the comments.